Centuries ago, Korea was called the Hermit Kingdom because it was separated from the rest of Asia due to its location and geography. But now, South Korea, officially known as the Republic of Korea, ROK, has transformed into a dynamic and thriving country in Asia. It is not just successful economically, but has also become widely recognized globally. South Korean cars, skaters, and pop bands are loved worldwide. The people of South Korea have a high standard of living, with a per capita income comparable to that of the United States. In 2021, South Korea's gross domestic product, GDP, was even double that of Russia, showcasing its remarkable economic growth and development. South Korea is a country that is a little over 100,000 square miles big. In comparison, Russia is huge, with a size of over 66 million square miles. Unfortunately for the 26 million people living in North Korea, also known as the Democratic People's Republic of Korea, DPRK, their part of the Korean peninsula is often referred to as a real hermit kingdom. Not many people go in or out of North Korea, and there's a good reason for that. It is considered one of the most controlling states ever, even compared to historical regimes like Stalin's Russia, Mao's China, Hitler's Germany, and Ceausescu's Romania. For the past 75 years, the North Korean government has been perfecting a climate of fear. You might have seen a famous picture showing South Korea all lit up from space, while its northern counterpart, except for its capital, Pyongyang, remains in darkness. North Korea is struggling economically and lacks development, except for its capital city. Back in 2015, the average income per person was estimated to be just $1,700, and the country's GDP in 2013 was around $28 million based on the official exchange rate. Although the actual figures are likely lower, the information provided is from the 2023 CIA Factbook, and it's important to note that getting accurate details about North Korea is quite challenging. Despite its economic challenges, North Korea is not lacking in military strength. It is heavily armed, and over the past 2 decades, it has been actively developing nuclear weapons. The country's leader, Kim Jong-un, and the top echelons of the North Korean government finance this program through involvement in various criminal activities, such as drug trafficking, supplying weapons to terrorist groups globally, engaging in prostitution in Japan, and more recently, selling artillery shells to Russia for its conflict with Ukraine. North Korea is considered an outcast country, and not many nations want to associate with it. It is known for carrying out assassinations of people who have defected or opposed its government, even on foreign soil. A notable incident involved the half-brother of Kim Jong-un, Kim Jong-nam, who was expelled from North Korea in 2003. In 2017, agents from North Korea attacked him in Malaysia, injecting him with a lethal nerve agent. In 1948, Kim Il-sung, originally named Kim Seong-ju, became the leader of North Korea. This happened with support from the Soviet government, led by Stalin, whom Kim admired. In 1950, Kim initiated the Korean War in an attempt to unify the divided Korean peninsula. Despite initial hesitation from Stalin, the war led to a significant loss of life, with Chinese troops ultimately saving Kim's regime. The war had a toll of 2.5 million lives, including nearly 60,000 American servicemen. After the Korean War, Kim Il-sung established an extraordinary cult of personality, portraying himself as a divine figure. His biography, written by ghostwriters, associated him with mystical events on Mount Paektu, a sacred mountain in Chinese and Korean beliefs. The narrative included a campaign against the Japanese occupation, and his son, Kim Jong-il, was mythically said to be born there. Although these stories were not accurate, North Koreans were compelled to believe them due to the consequences of dissent. Today, Kim Jong-un, who likes to resemble his grandfather and intentionally maintains a fuller figure because many Koreans believe that the gods of old were pleased with well-fed and caring individuals, visits Mount Paektu and is captured in photos appearing heroic, thoughtful, or caring. Despite this outward display, Kim's actions tell a different story. He ordered the killing of his brother in 2017, and 4 years earlier, witnessed his uncle being executed by firing squad. The foundation of North Korean society, a police state, rests on 10 rules established by Kim Il-sung and his regime. Although we won't go through all of them, a few can provide insight into life in North Korea. Citizens are expected to devote their lives to promoting the great leader Kim Il-sung's revolutionary thought, accept his instructions as their creed, and ensure that his revolutionary accomplishments continue through hereditary successions. This succession plan has been in place since Kim Il-sung's death in 1994, with his son, Kim Jong-il, ruling until 2011, and his grandson, Kim Jong-un, taking over since then. North Korea deviates from the typical communist state by incorporating racial and social prejudice into its societal structure, notably through a classification system called Songbun. This system categorizes individuals into core, wavering, and hostile groups. The core category includes descendants of those who resisted Japanese rule from 1910 to 1945, families with a working-class background when North Korea was established, high-ranking party members, and their descendants. The wavering group constitutes the majority of the population, constantly monitored by secret police and each other, with their lives and files investigated every 2 years. The hostile category encompasses those descended from former landowners and criminals, including those attempting to flee the Democratic People's Republic of Korea, DPRK, leading to a lasting stain on their descendants for at least 3 generations. A group often considered unfriendly includes those with Chinese or Japanese ancestry. North Korea, in its emphasis on blood ties, is likened to Hitler's Germany, a comparison not readily acknowledged by its citizens. While exceptions may exist, the inner workings of North Korea remain largely unknown, making it challenging to draw definitive conclusions. Between 1994 and 1998, North Korea faced a severe famine, resulting in a death toll ranging from 300,000 to 3 million. Despite being North Korea's sworn enemy, the United States provided food aid, highlighting the dire circumstances. Starvation led to desperate acts like theft to procure food, accompanied by discontent. Criticizing the leadership or the system carried graver consequences than theft in North Korea, potentially leading to a death sentence. During Kim Jong-il's death in 2011, hundreds were arrested not for rejoicing, but for inadequately mourning or feigning grief. North Koreans, subjected to prolonged oppression and indoctrination, often display genuine sorrow and anger, though some emotions may be suppressed. Defectors reveal an undercurrent of discontent with the Kim family and the system, but expressing such sentiments openly is perilous. In North Korea, hunger-driven theft might be reluctantly understood, yet it does little to mitigate punishment. However, what the leadership finds intolerable is criticism of the regime or its leaders, which could result in swift execution or prolonged suffering in a prison or concentration camp. The consequences of complaining about the system or Supreme Leader Kim Jong-un are multifaceted. Let us share another example with you. Dr. Sanduk Ruit, an eye surgeon from Nepal, has dedicated his life to helping people with cataracts, a common eye problem in poorer countries. The surgery he performs is simple, but many people in these countries, including North Korea, can't afford or access the necessary medical care. It's important to note that, except for the top-ranking officials, North Korean hospitals are generally very poor. A few years ago, Dr. Ruit received permission from the North Korean government to perform cataract surgeries. Many people who hadn't seen each other properly for years, some since childhood, were able to regain their vision. Interestingly, their first expressions of gratitude were directed towards their leader, Kim Jong-il. You can actually see this for yourself. Living in North Korea is challenging because people can be arrested at any time and place, and the police don't need to explain why. This applies to everyone, including those who are high up, though probably not the very top. Those with some power might have a bit of protection, but most people do not. If someone is arrested, they typically end up in a small cell in a prison or local jail. Stories from escapees and former guards who defected paint a grim picture. The guards at these places are trained to think that everyone they're responsible for is an enemy of the state and not fully human. This belief guides their actions during a lengthy process that can last for days, weeks, or even months. During this time, prisoners endure various forms of abuse such as sleep deprivation, beatings, intentional starvation, and more. Unfortunately, women and girls are also at risk of experiencing sexual assault. Once authorities determine the nature of a person's crime and assign a classification, they end up in one of two types of facilities, either the Kwanliso for political prisoners and some criminals, or the Kyohwaso, which are re-education camps. Strikingly, there's minimal difference in the treatment between the two systems. However, in the re-education camps, there exists a slim possibility of being released, although it's uncertain how likely this is. Notably, political offenses, including espionage, are deemed much more severe. Even individuals from communist countries, including visitors, might find themselves arrested and thrown into the Kwanliso system, disappearing for years, if not indefinitely. In many camps, mostly situated in the tough, isolated, and freezing mountains of the northern part of the country, far away from other communities, torture is a common occurrence. This takes various forms, including the methods mentioned earlier. Psychological torture tricks prisoners into believing they committed the crimes they are accused of, even if they are entirely innocent. A defector from North Korea shared a harrowing experience of being chained to a bar behind his back by his wrists, with his toes barely touching the floor for days. He described it as the worst punishment, among other brutalities like beatings, solitary confinement, and electric shocks. Disturbingly, some women are arrested while pregnant, and others become pregnant in the camps through sexual assault or exchanging their bodies for food. Occasionally, these newborns are allowed to survive, but their lives are marked by their mother's suffering, confined within the camp walls and often facing premature death. More frequently, the infants are either aborted or killed shortly after birth. We appreciate you joining us today to shed light on these critical issues. If you found this information important, please show your support by liking and subscribing to our channel.